Hello, my name is Justin Mandel. I'm a product design manager for Secure and Govern and AI framework teams. Today I'll be walking you through an expert analysis heuristic evaluation for the plan optimize stage group. The job to be done I was evaluating was optimize my CICD to increase my team's performance. I want to identify opportunities for improvement or detect risks in the delivery so I can add better value to customers. And the purpose of the UX scorecard was to analyze CI/CD pipelines to find opportunities for optimization of product delivery. So let's walk through the journey map that I put together. The first screen that I looked at is the Pipelines tab of the CI/CD Analytics under the Analyze section. Considering the goal, the first thing that we're looking at, we see all the content. There's a little bit of information about a sort of a summarization over here. The data set that I have, 15 pipelines, 8 pipelines have run, 7 failed, success ratio, etc. Little chart that shows me the pipeline duration so I can kind of compare them together. Maybe I can start to see some trends happening, fairly consistent. Some of them are a little bit greater in duration than others. And then I have another pipeline chart down here that's showing me success, the green, against all, which is blue. Some of the concerns, or I guess you might say the thoughts, are the data is fairly sparse, some inconsistencies of terms, and some missing failure data and error data. And so what I'm getting at here is, over here we're talking pipelines, pipelines, pipelines. Over here we're talking commits. So pipeline durations for the last commits. So I'm trying to draw parallels between these, and I'm wondering, there's a discrepancy of the last 30 commits label and the total in the overall stats section to the left that says total 15 pipelines. So the 30 count versus 15, I feel like there might be some way that we could label this something like up to 30 commits, or I don't know, something like that. So at least there's a connection between smaller numbers. Talking about commits, like I said, versus pipelines. So if I were to start by looking at this chart, it grabs my attention more than this copy. That's where some of the confusion, maybe there's a distance thing. We can draw these things together a little bit more. I don't know, there just seems to be a slight disconnect there. Information-wise, I have a lot of thoughts. Considering my goal, which is to try and find poor pipelines, pipelines that are slow or lagging or just not running correctly, so I can optimize them. I think that this chart could show some more helpful information. It'd be nice to provide some sort of interpretations of the data, help me understand this data so I can be more productive. And that type of comment or thought process follows throughout the rest of the screens. The charts are just giving me representations of data. It doesn't help me, right? I really have to know what I'm looking at. I really have to dig into things to try and figure out what it means or what I might be able to do in order to improve how my pipelines run. So maybe add an average pipeline duration marker across all commits. Anyway, I have lots of suggestions. I'll put these into the issue. But I think the general sentiment is, how can we add more markers or data informations to these that will actually help me fix things, make things better, but in a way that is more productive to me, more efficient. So I don't have to spend more minutes trying to understand, is this difference really significant against this difference? Is this difference super significant against this one? Why are they so different? What could I do to make them all lower and faster? Also, the tooltip can probably put some of the suggestion ideas I have in here inside of here, so it's not just overly adding content on top of the charts, adding more noise. Helpful noise, but sometimes it can still end up being noisy if it's not what I'm looking for at the time. So some of it can probably be put in there. Looking at this chart, it's showing that we have all and we have success. that's great that these are successes, but I want to find where there's failures so I can compare them to the successes. Of course, the successes must fit inside of the rest, which is this all, or I mean, the failures must fit inside of this, but help show them to me. There's also other types, other cancellations. How do those fit in if a pipeline was canceled versus or skipped? That data might be helpful too to help me understand it. So opportunities, basically figure out a way to help me. Add more information to the charts, show me the problems, recommend how I can fix them, recommend how I can make them better, that sort of thing. The heuristics that I pulled out for this: visibility of system status, and a tool the whole team can use. So visibility of system status, because I think it's missing. There's a lot of potential here, and it's missing those things that can help me understand and interpret the data. A tool the whole team can use, and this gets at the sort of recommend things. Tell me what I'm seeing. Help me understand what I'm seeing. So if I'm a super pro at this, I'm a person that is fully. I've been doing this for years. It's probably not so bad. I can understand. I'm better at interpreting. I've got experience with that. But a new person that's just been given this task, it would be nice if we can help them out. Grades, I didn't give them the best grades because they're just really basic charts. I think we can do better. Now we're going to look at the next tab, so deployment frequency. So one idea I had is this is looking at deployment, but it might be nice if the user could compare these to other stages like development stage, production, to see how pipelines are running against there. Maybe they'll see a trend that once we get to the deployment, everything gets worse or better. Who knows? But at least they'll be able to maybe toggle between them or overlay on top of each other, so they can start to interpret the data a little bit more. And again, we could also help them interpret that data. That would be great too. So I believe this is the average, because when you hover over the red line, it gives you a 23-day. So I think that's what this is saying. But the labels deployment frequency is not helping me interpret that. So maybe put the word average in there. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out what does this have to do with what, right? And then I have a few ideas on what we might be able to add to this chart in order to help it. So it'd be helpful if we could show failures or delays in deployment, helping the user identify if these issues are affecting their ability to deploy regularly. If there are deployment failures, could be helpful to see how long it took to recover and deploy successfully. Could also be helpful to indicate when things were changed in our deployment process. So maybe we changed how we did something right here, and now everything got better. Wouldn't that be cool? And then we changed it back and things got worse. Somehow mark those process changes or team changes or holiday changes or whatever the case may be on here. In general, my thoughts and my points and my opportunities are pretty much the same across all of these. Some, it's data. If I've been in the field for a while, I could probably interpret it and it might be helpful. But overall, it would be great if we could help them, be more productive. Tell them what the problem is, suggest what they can do to fix it so they don't have to stare at it for a few hours to figure out what they're actually looking at. Heuristics, same thing. Again, these heuristics are across. There wasn't many specific heuristics that I could pull out, but visibility, C, and a D. Everything is going to essentially be a C or a D. The next screen that we're going to look at is D and D, and everything else is D and D, and that's because there are some inconsistencies compared to the previous screens that I would like to fix. So looking at this one, again, it would be cool if users could change between different tiers just to compare and contrast. I have the average line. Again, it's the average information isn't here. If this is in fact average information, and then oh no, that was the only one. If this is if average information, why don't we have it here? And then we have it here. and here, but we're missing it here. So thought that was strange. Let's get consistent. I think I also had deployment figure chart. Would be nice to have that while also adding some consistency. Yeah, okay. Looking at these, I need something to help me understand. So same thing as I was saying earlier, help me interpret this data. Why these are huge swings from 24 minutes up to 14 hours. That shouldn't happen. Why is that happening? What can I do to fix that? That's weird. You know, these should be more consistent when you're looking at them. Were there changes? Again, there's parallels across all of these. Did something change? Did my process change? Did people change? Whatever the case may be, call that out so I can start to, sort of do the math or interpret this more quickly without myself having to know, oh, November 24th, that's a public holiday in the US. That probably caused something or other to happen. Any other circumstances, etc. This one, what is 0.2 of days? That's really hard to do the math. That's not how we normally think of time, in terms of breaking it up. So I wonder if there's a better way for us to do this that is easier to interpret or parse as we're looking at it. This one, I'm calling out, and this will happen on several of the screens. This tooltip is different than the first one, and I like the first one because it tells me, it at least gives me this. It says the blue line represents this, the red line represents this. That drops away on following on the consecutive screens that we're going to be looking at. It's not there anymore. So it would be nice if there was a consistency. Small thing, but adds up. Looks more pro when you're being consistent. Okay, looking at time to restore service. So we have this. It's nice to see it, but again, what is 0.6 of a day? I don't even know what that is, right? So let's help our users a little bit more. Same thing here, 0.6 of days. Looking at this, I have several ideas. Same as previous charts, there's massive swings. So what is this, 56 minutes basically at the lowest one, I think, looking at this one, all the way to the topmost, which is equivalent to 1.1 days. Why is that? Help me understand that. Help me figure out what I can do to make it consistent. Low is better. I want it to be low. I want it to be consistently low. So help me figure out how to do that. Do any of these service disruptions correlate with deployments? Were there other circumstances that might have contributed to these fluctuations, such as incident severity, complexity? Is there a way to show the types of incidents so they might be correlated together, such as type X seems to take consistently longer to resolve than type Y? Is there a problem with skills, knowledge on the team? Is there a problem with our process that we can adjust? Did we change our process that might be leading to this to make it pro or con? Could be helpful to show what a typical industry standard is. So usually companies take 30 minutes to resolve these things that are in the same business as you, and you're taking 6 hours. That's terrible. Get better. Or, hey, let's be positive. You're doing great. 20 hours faster in incidents than compared to the industry standard. Those are nice things to call out to help people understand. Again, inconsistencies with the tooltip. On this one, again, we've got this number called out. I think that it's the average, but now I'm not so sure that these are all averages, because when you hover over this line, it tells me that it's 8.2%, but this is saying 8.5. Before, I thought it was a rounding sort of thing on the previous screens, but now that's pretty big difference, 3/10. So I don't know what this number is, if it's an average or what. Some suggestions similar to previous ones. All of the concepts sort of play off of each other, and if we can get consistent on how we're adding that data to each of these charts, I think that will help users, because they'll learn it in the first few screens, and it'll just continue to expand as they get into the next few tabs. It would be great if we can help users interpret these things. You can make suggestions, etc. Do these correlate to deployment cycles, deployment sizes to blame? So same ideas as before. Industry standard stuff, etc. And again, discrepancy and differences and consistency. Overall, that's pretty much it overall. Like I said, these are pretty consistent thoughts, pain points, and opportunities in my view. The emotion line didn't change that much. It's really kind of in the middle. It's a little bit like, yeah, these are good enough. And then you're kind of like, well, we're getting inconsistent, so I put it below the midline. Adding up the score, we get a total average score of 2.2, which is a D. So I think we have lots of opportunity here. And also, I'd like to point out, or I should point out anyway, that I've noticed this on all of our dashboards and charts. We show the charts, we have some data, but we don't help users interpret that data. We don't suggest or recommend what they might be able to do using that data in order to get better. So it's not just these analytics charts. We have the same problems across any time that we have a chart. So, I mean, I guess at least we're consistent in that way. So there you go. My next step, I'm going to be creating some recommendation issues to capture these concerns, and I'll also ping the DRI designer NPM. So there you go. Thank you very much.